Mic is on.
No, the mic is on. Everything's working now. It's recording as well.
Okay.
So however you want to start.
Might appear that it's describing the chapter 8, describing mostly in infernal stuff, like Gehenna, right? The hell, punishments, and so on. But this is not so simple, and this is not the main idea, main topic. I focused our attention on this, trying to systemize those ideas. But again, it's also just brought as an illustration to the main topic. But before we go back to chapter 8, I want to hear, since we had long break, what in the previous classes, what the main ideas you brought from them, from our previous meetings, and it will help Nachum also to get into the conversation. Besides the question which you might have from the previous classes, what are the main points which you took out from them?
The main point I took out was that everything that we do, depending on our intention, can make it something holy or not holy. So
excellent point.
Yeah,
excellent point. Excellent point. Okay. Any other ideas, points, concepts?
That you're going to fail at times. In fact, as we started, Tanya saying how you're almost always Russia versus a Bani, you have even tzaddik, so it's okay when that happens not to be yourself up thinking you're like the exception of the rule, but then to always strive for, as we're learning, to be a Bani, which means it's the action, it's a journey, not the destination. It's while striving for that, you're becoming this amazing person, but sometimes you're going to fall and that's okay. So you got to pick yourself up.
Very well said. Yeah, we started with the greatest gifts actually. If you remember our first class, what's the beginning of the Tanya? There's a purpose in our life. Every soul comes to this world with a purpose. That's why it swears. Swear it's a parable. It's something, some boost of determination, so to speak, right? Which soul receives before entering this world, which helps it to fulfill the mission. And it's very challenging because it's in order to provide us with freedom of choice, God gave us like two souls, animal soul and divine soul, which have a very difficult relationship within ourselves. It's by definition it's a conflict because the interests are different, but the goal is to make it into cooperation, not to destroy our animal soul through fasts and whatever they do in monasteries, but to make it into cooperation, to make it partner, to make the animal soul partner of our divine soul. And as you rightfully said, the fulfillment of our mission, the success of what we're doing, depends on many things, and you singled out the importance of intention. What does intention do? When is it important? When we're dealing with already something permissible. When it's prohibited, then even the best intention won't do anything. Like you said, that even if non-kosher food consumed, maybe with the best intention to derive the energy to do good things, the substance and the divine spark within it cannot be elevated and rectified, because it's rooted in a certain part of spiritual realms, which is called other side, Sitra Achra. That's where what we call evil comes from, And that's how Hashem created this world. Like the side of holiness, Kedusha, and the other side. All in order to provide us with the freedom of choice. In order to have freedom of choice, we need to have choice, right? Alternative. Something which Hashem wants us to do, and something which He tells us, stay away. But, on the other hand, we have certain spark of vitality within us, which has natural desire towards those things which might not be so good. And there are different levels. That even, we mentioned that even the things which are not prohibited by the law, if they misused, if they used only to satisfy the physical desire, the animalistic lust, they cause spiritual failure, spiritual damage. But since they come from that world, which is called Klipas Nega, which belongs to the other side, but it contains mixture of good and evil. Therefore, those things could be rectified, could be elevated, once the person does tshuva, which is not just regret, repent, but changes his mindset. And once he does the same thing with proper intention, not only he elevates the divine sparks from the stuff he's dealing at that moment, he also those sparks, elevated sparks, drag alone those which were buried by the previous mistakes, which doesn't work with prohibited items, or let's say non-kosher food, because you remember the concept of the very word, a Hebrew word for prohibition, prohibited. Osur. Osur means incarcerated, grabbed, chained. It's chained to that realms of impurity, and therefore cannot be redeemed and elevated by the direct usage. Only in a subtle form, by staying away, we can rectify even this part of the world, but not through the direct usage. Unless we are in a situation that this thing, let's say non-kosher food, is needed to save life. Then it becomes completely permissible. And it's not impure anymore. Becoming the source of saving the life, it's not prohibited anymore. It's not osur. Therefore, it could be elevated. And besides that, how to say, the global effect, so to speak, of our actions, right? We're doing right things. We fulfill the prescribing commandments, mitzvahs asay. We draw down the divine light, which affects the world in a positive way, makes it a better place, made it more spiritual, and so on. And when we, God forbid, violate the prohibitions, then our soul works as a switch, which directs the energy to feed the evil forces. So keeping those rules, actually, it's like maintenance of the world. We prevent this world from calamities by keeping those rules. By fulfilling the prescribing commandments, we make it better. By obeying the prohibitions, we keep it safe, preventing the damages. But that's global meaning of what we are doing. Yeah, any mitzvah on its own level. Some mitzvahs have tremendous effect. Let's say tefillin. Why Chabad Chassidim are so fanatic about asking other Jews to put on tefillin? Because it's safety, concept of safety. When you put on tefillin, and according to the most Kabbalistic custom, so to speak, the Chabad custom, you start from here, making 3 lines here, which make a shape of shin, and so on. The 3 letters appear during this wrapping the tefillin straps. Which is the name of God, the same which is written outside of the mezuzah, which corresponds to the divine light which brings protection. And mezuzah is on the house. It brings protection to the home and to the household. When a Jew puts on tefillin, it brings protection to himself, to his family, and to the entire nation. That's why Rebbe asked his followers and disciples to do it whenever there is any chance to give another Jew the opportunity to fulfill this mitzvah, because it increases the safety of our people. You put on tefillin, maybe you're saving somebody's life on the other part of the world. Some Israeli soldier. That's how it works. But besides that, our actions have the immediate results effect to our own soul. It's an individual level. There is a global level of effect. There is an individual level. Our own soul. That's what we discussed in this chapter 8. That when the Jew consumes kosher food, but just for his animal satisfaction, we said that it could be rectified, it could be fixed by the tshuva, but since those actions supply the matter to build his own body, and at that moment when the structure was built, the material was not so pure. It's like doing construction with the rotten wood, bad materials. It undermines the whole building. And it says you can do some fixing, apply some fixing, but the same with the body. The tshuva fixes the spiritual damage, but the trace of the problem remains in the body, and therefore, after the death, it should go through specific process of purification, decay in the grave, which is very painful for the soul. And this pain rectifies the soul from that spiritual impurity which stays, because there is still connection between body and the soul, as we said. And we brought in other examples. Let's say certain sins which are essentially a waste of time, right? We came to this world to do something, to accomplish something, and when a Jew loses the time, it causes certain spiritual damage to him too. And to rectify from that, to fix from that, another thing is used. We called it kafakela. How do you translate it into? Into English, the hollow of sling, right? The hollow of sling. When the soul is being thrown up to the highest levels, which shows the soul what he could achieve in this world if he wouldn't be losing time, and then it falls back down, which causes tremendous pain. Then understanding that how many opportunities, how many chances were lost, causes the soul tremendous pain, and that purifies. But if we're talking about something prohibited, before we mentioned just idle talk, but if we're talking about forbidden speech, let's say slander or something else, then just throwing with a sling, so to speak, doesn't help. Then it should go through the Gehenna, which is hell, purgatory, to go through deeper cleaning. Also, what matters too is the level of the person. That another point which we need to take to the consideration, that in the heavenly court they use double standards. There is no universal measuring scale for the actions and sins for everyone the same. No. Each one is being judged according to his abilities, his level, and what he might be doing here, and instead what he was doing. So if the person, the reincarnation of the soul was a simple person, it's different requirements and different level of judgment, different level of responsibility. But if we're talking about the sage, who instead of using his mind, his time to study the Torah, to teach others and so on, he was doing maybe some innocent idle talk, not. But still, his level of responsibility is much higher, and just throwing through with a sling is not enough to purify such a soul, because this soul, unfortunately, got damaged more, because it was meant to do much more than others. So I tried to systemize what was mentioned in this chapter into this table. So the one column is different sins, examples of the sins, the problem involved, connected with those mistakes, and the level of purification. So we started with food consumed for pleasure, kosher food, right? What's the problem? Let's assume that person did tshuva, so the spiritual damage was repaired, but a trace of it remains attached to the body.
Kosher food?
Kosher food.
Trace of it remains in the body?
Yes, even after tshuva, the trace of the impurity. Because at the moment it was consumed, it was assumed just for physical pleasure, so it wasn't really pure. Our intention made it not so pure.
I thought the beating of the grave was for when it's not kosher food. No?
No, for non-kosher food, it's Gehenna, hell. So it's beating of the grave in the grave. That pain, because the body is not so pure, it has to dissolve in the earth. Just the essence of the body, the bones remain. Or if the person was holy, then his body remains intact in the grave. Innocent idle chatter. So what's the problem? Waste of time. And the purification, the hollow sling. He's been thrown up and then falls down, which caused tremendous, not disappointment, it's embarrassment, pain of shame. What did I do? How could I lose these opportunities? If it's worse, forbidden speech, then in addition to the time wasted, he did something prohibited. He invested his vitality of his body into prohibited action to derive some pleasure, right? We do these things not just like that. We expect to receive something, right? To have fun, let's say, from discussing another person, making fun of somebody, God forbid. So there is some pleasure, which actually could be used as a universal criteria. That's what we derive from those mistakes. Doing something prohibited, what are we doing it for? What's the purpose? To derive some benefit, some pleasure. That causes more grave damage, which has to be fixed in through more intense cleansing, which is done in the Gehenna, the hell. Because those things, those mistakes, they put a stain on the soul, and this stain should be cleaned. And to be clean, it should go through the purgatory, through the cleaners, not French cleaners, not Chinese cleaners, but through the Gehinnom, and that process is painful. It could be different in another example. Neglect of a positive commandment. You have a chance to fulfill the mitzvah. Do so. Say Shema in the morning, in the evening, and the person deliberately misses the opportunity because he has something else to do, or just because feels too lazy. So it's an intentional indolence. How do you pronounce it? Indolence. So for this laziness, the purification. Again, you see, I never use the word punishment. Please notice this. I intentionally avoid the word punishment because essentially it's not a punishment. Hashem doesn't make it even with us. Who are we that he should, revenge from us? No, it's all this is consequence of our mistakes. It's not revenge. It's not real punishment. It's purification of those damages done by unfortunately our mistakes. For that's this type of mistakes. The purification goes in the Gehinnom of snow, hell of snow. The previous, to simplify, we call hell of fire, and this is hell of snow. But when I say hell of fire, don't picture yourself, these Boscan pictures, devils with the frying pans and so on. It's a symbol of the type of purification and type of the pain which brings purification to the soul. After passing, each one goes, with some exceptions, but each one goes through this purification, which goes for 11 months. In more grief situations, it might take a year, but since we don't know, we assume for everyone that it goes for less than a year, 11 months. That's why Kaddish is being said for 11 months. Because saying Kaddish is not memorial prayer.
There's no time there. How do we know what 11 months goes?
There is equivalent of time. There is time, because there are processes. If there is dynamics, then there is time, because time is something which allows the dynamics to happen, allows process to run. There is no strict definition of time in physics, because you cannot describe it without using other things which are undescribable without using the term of time. But generally speaking, it's something which process of, change of states, which is dynamic. But I don't want to go too deep into it. So in every level of reality, there is equivalent of time. Of course, it's not the same, but it's equivalent. And it corresponds to our time here. So to those 11 months, which run here, they correspond to certain period of time and that level, which takes for the soul to go through purification. That's why here for 11 months, those who can might say Kaddish to help the soul to go through this process. Because when the Kaddish is being said, in honor, in memory, for the merit of this soul, it gives additional merit and protection to that soul, make the process easier. So there are different types, you said, and from what I learned, I want to offer you my view of systematization, so to speak. Maybe in some aspects it's speculations, but I try to systemize what I learned, not just to to make up things. The essence of this, I mentioned pain. I didn't say punishment, but I mentioned pain, which causes purification. There are different. Of course, it's very hard to describe it in our terms, because we're not talking about physical pain, we're not talking about physical fire, physical snow, whatever. It's all symbols, but they convey certain message. So the most, from what I understand, the most essentially conveys the idea of that purifying pain is the concept of shame. You know, even in this world, the discomfort, the pain of shame could be so torturing that many times the person would prefer to go through the physical pain, but to avoid, to spare himself from that shameful situation, right? There are idioms in Russian for sure, probably in English also, that the person would rather have his arm cut off to avoid certain shameful situation. So that's the atonement which he goes through. You see what this hollow sling does. It shows him what he lost by losing these opportunities. That's the essence of pain he receives. The same with these Gehennoms, the hell of fire, hell of snow. The shame could be different. Sometimes you all your blood, rushes into your head. You feel heat. Sometimes it's just
It's sucked out.
cold. You feel shivering cold. So here also, if something was done with enthusiasm for the lust of pleasure and so on, then what's the purification? Because everything goes according mida keneged mida, in accordance and in similarity. It was done with the fire of enthusiasm for the burning pleasure and so on. The purification is that type of shame, burning shame. It was done of coldness and laziness, then the purification is done through this shivering shame. Okay, let's go back to the examples of misbehaviors which might have bad spiritual consequences. Very sensible, actually, topic, and don't jump to the conclusions because it needs the context and explanation. Likewise, he who occupies himself with the science that to help to restore context, let me see what we were reading before. So he who is able to engage in the Torah but occupies himself instead with frivolous things. Oh, you see whom I'm talking about. The whole of sin cannot itself effectively scorn and so on, so he needs to go to purgatory of snow. Okay, we restore the context, right? Now, likewise, he who occupies himself with the science of nations, meaning the science, it is included amongst those who waste their time in profane matters, insofar as the sin of neglecting the Torah is concerned, as it explained in the laws of the Torah study. So that what does it tell you? That learning science is bad. It's a grave sin. Avoid it by any cost.
When you could be learning Torah, you shouldn't be learning science.
Oh. When it's being done instead of studying the Torah, as an alternative pleasure, and we're talking about the person who is capable of studying the Torah deep. Talking about the sage, So for him, we're talking about, for him, even though it's so much more fancy than just idle talk, but it causes similar spiritual damage. Similar, but as we will read in the next slide, in truth of the matter, worse. Moreover, the uncleanness of the signs of the nations is greater than that of profane speech. For the later informs and defiles only the midas, emotional attributes of the soul. Right? The person just chatting and giggling, and his mind is not employed seriously, right? Just the anecdote stories, stupid jokes. So it defiles only the midas, emotional attributes of the soul, which emanate from the element of the Holy Ruach within his divine soul, with contamination of the clip. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to read it in Hebrew first. We have a rule that first I read it in Hebrew. That the holy words should be pronounced in the proper way. What says Yisera Tomasa shel Chachmas Umeis Ha'umeis al Tumas Devarim B'Teilim she'ena mal b'shamatame rag hamidis misod haruach hakodesh shebenafshe Elokis b'tumas klipas noigo b'Devarim B'Teilim haboim misod haruach hara shebeklipa zoi benafshe abheimes gedolei. So it defiles on the midas which emanate from the element of holy ruach within his divine soul, with contamination of the klipas noga. You remember that's the level in the sitrochra of the other side, which is contained in profane speech, which is derived from the element of evil ruach of this klipa in his animal soul, as mentioned above. V'loi b'chinas chochma binadas shebenafshei. מאחר שהם דברי שטוס ובורס, שגם השויטים עמי הורץ יכול לדבר כן. But he does not defile the intellectual faculties of his soul, chokhmah, bina, das, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. It's simplified translation. For they are, what are these things? Just words of foolishness and ignorance, since even the fools and ignoramuses can speak this way, right? But it's not so in the case of scientific studies. Mashe Einkein, even though in the colleges you have many people who do not, how to say, employ their intellectual faculties very much, especially nowadays, when they're busy with other stuff. But we're talking about the ideal situation. The person with strong mind, who is capable of studying the Torah, he uses the power of his mind for something else, for studying science, learning science. It's completely different from just chatting, saying jokes. מה שאין כן בחוכמה סאומס, הוא מלבש ומטמא מבחינת חוכמה בן הדס שבנפשי האלוקיס, בתומאס קליפס נוגה שבחוכמה סאולה, שנופלו שמה בשביר הכלים מבחינת אחריים של חוכמה דקדושה כידוע לדיכן. Not so in the case of the of the sciences, whereby he clothes and defiles the intellectual faculties of Chokhmah bin Adas in his divine soul, with contamination of the klipas noga contained in those sciences, wherever they have fallen through the shattering of the vessels out of the so-called hinger part of Chokhmah of Gedusha, as it's known to the students of Kabbalah. Okay, all the intellectual richness of the world, rooted in the wisdom of the Torah, essentially, as a source. But it developed through the very difficult process of formation of this world, which includes so-called destruction of the world of chaos which involved the above mentioned shattering of the vessels, that's breakage of the spheres of that level of reality, which created this world. Through which we created this world where the divine energy is concealed, but the structures, the powers of formation are strong, which create the unbreakable picture of reality, so to speak. And in this reality, there are many valuable things, let's say intellectual things, but they stem from the spiritual levels rooted in the realm of Kedusha, but not directly. You can apply to it, you can appeal to it directly through Torah study, or you can deal with some some embodiment of that trace of these intellectual spiritual treasures, which became this scientific knowledge. So the person whose mission is to study the Torah should concentrate on studying the Torah, and for him, dealing with those things, no matter how smart they are, how interesting they are, for him it's almost the same as telling stupid jokes. Even worse, because telling stupid jokes doesn't implore his mind, which is meant to be used for the Torah study. And here he uses this precise and precise tool, precious tool, to do something with something low. So it means that the damage caused by this is spiritual damage for that person, that level of person is worse. But don't run to make the final conclusion for what you said. First, I want to system. Okay, this just illustration. What we're talking about, the levels of the soul. You see, there are, especially Nachum, you missed some previous classes. We discussed the inner structure of the soul. There are 10 inner powers of the soul, which could be divided into two groups: powers of intellect, Chochma, Bina, Das, and the powers of emotions, so to speak, the channels through which the person expresses himself, which are lower, and they depend on the way how our mind works. So our mind is higher; it's like a more precious tool from those given to us by the Creator. So when the person misuses this, it's worse than misusage of the tools of lower level, right? In the shop, you have different tools. You have screwdrivers, you have brushes, and you have power tools. The mistake done with the brush cannot be compared to the mistake done with some power tool, right?
No. Correct.
So
You wouldn't know.
Two big different mistakes.
Exactly. The same here. Unless, going back to our topic, he employs the science as a useful instrument. Oh, Elim Kain, thank you. Elim Kain, oisoisen kardom lachtich behem. Dehainok de lisparnis mehem, berevach, lavoid Hashem, oishoideo lishtamish behem lavoidas Hashem, oiletoirosi. Vizeo tamish al Rambam, Veramban, Zichron Livrach, Visayasam, she osko behem. Unless he employs these sciences, this knowledge, what studies, as a useful instrument. Literally, axe to cut. Instrument. As a means for of a more affluent livelihood, right? Say, if through getting education you can attain better job, right? To earn more, to provide for your family, to pay for your children Jewish education and so on, then it's completely different.
To donate to the shul.
To donate to the shul, yes, of course.
Oh, it was important.
Which means that you use it as a tool to serve Creator in the more effective way, or in a more direct way, when he is able to serve God and knows how to apply those knowledges, not indirectly through, earning more money or whatever, but directly apply them to the service of God and His Torah. Sometimes scientific studies might help you to understand better certain Torah concepts, or like in the case of Jewish educators, let's say my previous secular education helps me to teach the Torah, to find the terms, the words, the examples for the audience, to convey the messages of the Torah. So this is also the way of using these knowledges, these studies, the sciences, to make your divine service more effective. And this was the reason why Maimonides and Ahmadides and the other sages were engaged in learning those secular studies. Maimonides was great doctor. He was royal doctor, but besides that, he was providing medical services to members of community and to people from the street. A lot of Gentiles were coming to him. He describes in his letter his daily routine. First of all, few hours commute from the place he lived to the capital to take care of the royal family, then coming back, and then till late night seeing patients who were coming to see him, and most of whom he didn't charge. He was seeing even the poorest people to help. And only on Shabbos he was able to learn. And with such a schedule, he was able to be a greatest sage and to write so many books and so on.
Just imagine he learned every day.
It's unhumanly abilities. So let's summarize. So again, all this, what I want to point out. The point of this chapter wasn't to give you classification of Gehenna, of hell, right? Excursion through hell. It was to show the concept which I try to summarize here, that our actions have consequences, have effect on the world, on our soul, and our ability to reach the positive result is based on three main points. It must be rooted in the realm of Kedusha, or holy. So you're doing the mitzvah, so you're putting on tefillin. It's already holy. This piece of leather, skin, parchment, it's already rectified and purified by forming this holy item already. Or it should be coming from Klipas Noga, that part of other side, which contains mixture of good and bad. So it could be elevated, but it's not enough, right? That's where the kosher foods, let's say, come from, or any permissible things. But the third condition also must be included. It must be used, must be done with the proper intention. This keeping in mind, it could be just general, simple thought. I'm doing it for the purpose of fulfillment of my mission in this world. not just to fill up my stomach, not just to obtain some pleasure. Sometimes pleasure also could be mitzvah, let's say on Shabbos, Oinek Shabbos. Since our physical part is automatically becomes elevated when Shabbos comes, physical pleasure from kosher things becomes a mitzvah too. So this intention becomes holy. So these three things. Any questions? Great. L'chaim.
I am
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You're very welcome. Come again.